Okay, well, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Armscor University. I am, of course, John McLean, National Training Manager for Armscor and Rock Island Armory. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and watch the episode. Today we're going to be covering our lever action 410 shotguns and some information about the 22 TCM and 22 TCM 9R. Before we get started, I would like to send out a reminder that if you've gotten those emails, make sure you scroll down and look at the active promotions for your customers. These are going to be great tools for you to be able to help seal that deal for the customers. Right now, we've got deals on 22 TCM pistols, lever action shotguns, the TM22, the VRPF, the PF, and the VRF 14. And then starting this month is the promotion for the VR70 shotgun. Okay, so make sure you check out the promotions page. That's on the email link. Just scroll down a little bit and you can find it there. With that being said, I pushed the wrong button. Hold on. Here we go. And there we go. Maybe sort of kind of. Okay, here we go. Now, let's get started, like I said, with the shotguns. So these are brand new to the company, just released this year. SHOT Show lever action 410 gauged shotgun. So, price point obviously is going to be spectacular due to the fact that this is one of the Rock Island Armory Imports partnership products that we make with Diriyah out of Turkey. We've got a wood finished version, and then we've got the all generation. So that's where you get the adjustable buttstock, you get the adjustable cheek weld, and the polymer type furniture. Almost like if you wanted to make a Yellowstone cowboy action 410 shotgun into a tactical version. There you go. As you can see from this picture, you're going to have the option of having, it comes with a form of iron sights, but you also have a little bit of a rail on the front end of the sight. So you'll be able to add any sort of, if you want to do a magnified optic, you could, but you could also do something as simple as a red dot. So just a very, very fun gun to shoot. The 410 shell is a great shell, especially for juniors and ladies to get into shooting. Teach them about firearm safety. They won't fear the recoil nearly as much because there's not very much recoil there. Just overall a fantastic shotgun. And again, this is one of the shotguns that I do believe we have on promotion right now, where if your customer buys a lever action shotgun from you, they can get $250 in credit to the website advancedtactical.com, where they can then purchase any sort of accessories, even ammunition if they want to, if they can find it there, obviously for 410. But that credit is for whatever's on the website. So make sure your customers are aware if they're looking to buy something that's kind of fun and a little bit different. Maybe they're big fans of Yellowstone. Maybe if they walk into your store and you never noticed that they wear a cowboy hat before and now they are, well, there you go. You've got an option for them, okay? So it's a little bit of information about those lever action shotguns. Now, obviously, Armscor USA, that's going to be ammunition that was loaded and packed here in the U.S. If your box says Armscor Precision or Armscor Global Defense, that's going to be ammunition that was loaded and packed over in the Philippines. Is there a difference? Some would say yes, others would say no. I haven't personally noticed much of a difference. Obviously, when you get behind a chronograph or something like that, yes, there's going to be variations, but I think that happens pretty much from batch to batch and lot to lot. That's just the way ammunition is. So, but we make a plethora of calibers for sale, including the 22 TCM. So this is a proprietary round that we developed. Gosh, I think we've got to be close to maybe 10 years ago now. No, 8 years. Should be 8 or 9 years, because it came out when I got started. No, yeah, it's longer, probably about 10 years. When I started shooting for the company was when this round got developed. So please remember that the 22 TCM, the original design with the soft point bullet, that was the original design. It's a 40 grain bullet. Out of our 5-inch model, we would get anywhere from 2,000 to 2,100 feet per second. And yet, very light perceived recoil, huge boom, nice fireball out of the end. Just a fantastic round to shoot. If you haven't ever shot a 22 TCM, I highly suggest you find a range and give it a try, because it is an amazing round to shoot. The difference between the standard TCM and the 22 TCM 9R. The 9R stands for 9 revolution. It is because it is a shorter overall length to make it true 9mm overall length. We had to design that because when we came out with the Glock conversions and at the time we were making them for the MAPP series of pistols, those magazines were true 9mm overall length magazines, meaning that the original 22 TCM round physically could not fit in the magazine. Okay? Now, if you are shooting the 1911 pistols, they will run 22 TCM and 22 TCM 9R, no problem. Okay? The bolt action rifles is where you will need to have the original 22 TCM ammunition running through it. And that's just because of feeding issues. The bullet design and the action design were built together, and it was not designed for the 9R profile bullet. Okay. Now, we've also added to the line of 22 TCM pistols the Armor series. So historically, a lot of our guns have always been Parkerized finish, and we still do make Parkerized finish guns. However, the Armor lube is a new coating that we have decided to give a try, where it is promoted and marketed to create a hardness that roughly matches the same hardness of diamonds, and also kind of helps smooth out and smoothen out certain things of the firearm. So lubrication shouldn't be as big of an issue. I still run lube on all my guns, period, end of story. I don't care what it is. Like, I want my guns to have a little bit of oil, a little bit of coefficient of friction going down. But that's one of the selling points of this Armor series, is that it's supposed to be way more durable. It's supposed to be a little bit more scratch resistant, and will also help improve with performance and reliability. Okay, those are coming and starting on all the TCM firearms. So as you can see here, we have 3 models: a TCM standard mid-size, a TCM standard full-size, and a TCM premium full-size. Then we have the 2 bolt-action guns. Now, before, these TCM pistols used to come as a 22 TCM with a 9mm barrel and spring. We've stopped doing that because we found a couple things. One is that if a customer wanted a 22 TCM, they didn't really plan on putting the 9mm barrel and spring and then having to adjust their sights and all that kind of stuff to make that happen. They wanted the TCM to shoot the TCM, and they kept that in the gun. So for these 3 models, they will only come with the 22 TCM barrel and spring. They will no longer come with the 9mm barrel and spring as they did before. But that doesn't mean we got rid of the combo. What it means is that we've shifted, and the other thing we'll talk about real quick is, before we found that a lot of customers would go into their gun stores and they would be looking for a 1911 in the 9mm caliber. Well, our TCMs came with a 9mm barrel and spring, but they came as a TCM. So the sell was, well, this gun is a 22 TCM, but it comes with a 9mm barrel and spring. People coming in and looking for a 9mm 1911 didn't want a 22 TCM. They wanted a 9mm. And so it became this battle of like, well, no, it comes with 9. You can make it a 9, but they just don't, I don't want the 22 TCM. So we were forcing them to buy a caliber that they did not want in order to gain access to the caliber that they did want. What we've done is we've flipped it. So instead of it being an animosity purchase, I'm forcing you to buy the TCM to give you the 9. Now they are sold and packaged with a 9mm barrel and spring installed, and a 22 TCM 9R barrel and spring is included. Okay, now you might say, why the 22 TCM 9R instead of the standard 22 TCM? 2 of the models in particular, the Rock Ultra CCO and the Rock Ultra CSL, the magazines are not designed like your standard 1911 mags, which typically run 38 super overall length, which is why they could fit the original TCM bullet. Rather, the magazines are designed for those particular firearms to be a little bit shorter and true 9mm overall length magazines. So we want to encourage the 22 TCM 9R, and from a perspective of understanding which bullet you need, if you have the 9mm, get the 9R. So kind of trying to throw that number 9 into both of those titles to help make it easier. If you've got a 9mm that comes with a TCM barrel, they want the 9R bullet to go with it, okay? And again, the CCO and the CSL, those magazines are designed to be a little bit shorter for an overall length of 9mm, not your standard 38 Super. The Rock Ultra full size, the Tac Ultra full size, and then the full size combo, high cap, those are running your standard mag. So those will actually run either or. But just know, like I said, to try and make it easier to have that conversation with your customer, if they're buying the 9mm with the TCM barrel, let's focus on getting them the 9R ammunition of TCM, just to try and help eliminate any situations where the customer gets home, loads the gun, and then or tries to load the mag and then realizes, well, crap, it doesn't fit because this is the wrong bullet for it. Like the 9R will fit all the mags. The TCM, the 22 TCM original, will only fit those magazines that were originally designed for the true overall length of 38 Super, which is what the original bullet was designed around for the overall length. Okay. As far as these firearms go, understand that I think this is a fantastic round. When people ask, why do I want to buy a 22 TCM? I find that it's one of the best rounds to help someone transition from a rimfire shooter to a full-size centerfire shooter, because they get to use a full-size firearm, they get to use full-size magazines, and I mean, everything is exactly the same except for the felt recoil impulse. So for those people that maybe don't have enough upper body strength or grip strength to properly hold a 9mm, and it results in stovepipes from limp wristing or anything like that, well, then we throw the TCM barrel in, and now they no longer have that much recoil coming back. They can learn how to put the correct pressure on the firearm without having the excessive amount of recoil that they can't handle. And then once you get all that focused on and centered and worked on, and they become proficient in it, then when they transition over to that 9mm full-size centerfire pistol caliber, they're not going to be as scared. They're going to have a little bit more confidence in their stance, their grip, their trigger control, and themselves, so that they're not necessarily as afraid of the recoil anymore, because they've been listening to this loud boom go off. They've been seeing the fireball, not feeling much recoil. Now we're just going to add that new dynamic of, okay, now you're going to get a little bit more perceived recoil, but if you do everything else the same, everything's going to work out. Okay, so that's what I got to say about the 410 and the 22 TCMs. The code word for this week is Yellowstone, of course, because of the lever action side of it. We wanted to talk about Yellowstone because cowboy actions. You know, it's surprisingly, I haven't watched a single episode of Yellowstone yet, so I'm kind of one of those weirdos. Not that I don't want to. I just haven't gotten around to it. So I got a question from Jack here, which is, are any of these California compliant? You know, Jack, I don't believe any of the TCM are. And as far as the lever action goes, let me look it up real quick. I can get you an answer here momentarily. How you'll need to play that is that we have the conversion kits for the 1911s. We have the conversion kits for the MAPP witnesses, and then we have the conversion kits for the Glock 17 and 19. So if your customers are interested in 22 TCM 9R, then what we might have to do then is you'll try and purchase, which I think are available exclusively on advancedtactical.com. So when you log in, you'll get your dealer discount for having your account through Advanced Tactical, and then order some conversion kits, whether or not it's for the 1911 platform, the MAPP if your customer has that, or for the Glock. And that'd probably be the best bet for you in California to be able to enjoy the 22 TCM 9R caliber. Great question, Jack. Thank you so much for asking it. I really do appreciate the question. That was a great question, and definitely be added for the video because that was great information. So thank you very much. If there are no other questions, then I'm going to call it for this episode of Armscor University. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you need to contact me with any questions, concerns, comments, you can reach me at johnmclean@armscor.com. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you on the next episode of Armscor University.